Debbie. So those are my efforts. So no complaints, but I wanted us to have bulletins because I want you to have, certain things in your hand, the principles on the back page and what's coming up on the right side. Boy, I can hear my grandmother saying now, "You're all a sight for sore eyes." Now, she never said that to us, her grandchildren, when we arrived to stay with her. But when people came that she wasn't expecting, or more than she would say that. Well, we have more than I was expecting. Ministers like to say we ran out of bulletins, so I was debating, should I print 4 or 5? But we still have some back there, but we may get to the point of asking couples to share and put one back. I'm glad you're here. The person I'm missing today is our beloved cellist. If we don't see her in the next couple of minutes going to her station, somebody's pouring in here. No, I don't think it's not. Anyhow, Happy New Year. Aren't we all glad to be here? And now we'll hear from our worship associate, Judy.
Good morning, everybody. Happy New Year. Move the mic closer, we can hear you. Okay. Welcome to the Treasure Coast Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Stuart, Florida. Today is January 1st, 2023, which everybody knows. My name's Judy Clow, and I'll be your worship associate this morning. We're a welcoming congregation. We welcome people of all gender identities, ethnicities, ages, and backgrounds. I'm glad to see that you remembered the new start time of 10:30 this morning for the new year. It's wonderful to see the vaccinated members in the sanctuary, and we're also on YouTube. To find out more information about us, go to our website at tcuuc.org. When you're there, you can request our Friday online newsletter. Please silence your cell phones.
Could I say one more thing?
Of course.
I forgot to say I'm so grateful to Judy for agreeing to play the piano if we need, not this Judy, that Judy, Bajoris, to play the piano if we need her. The only other option in leading you I had was Truman and I could do duets up here. And then you would really be grateful for Jackie and Judy. But thank you, Judy. As of this moment, you're still on.
No prelude today.
No.
Prelude.
At least till 11.
Okay. Visitors, if you're comfortable, please step up to the microphone and introduce yourself. Welcome, everyone. We have announcements, but this is good news. I'll go quickly. They're in here. Yay! So we don't have to go through a long song and dance from up on the pulpit. Brown bag lunch this week, Tuesday, January 3rd, Stewart Memorial Park. Next Sunday, January 8th, let's start a sermon response circle at 12:15 once a month. The topic.
11:45.
Oh, okay. It's at 11:45. And the following week, Wednesday men's lunch, January 11th at the Key West Diner at 12:30. We did this most enjoyably for years. Let's try again. 1619 Northwest Federal Highway in the North Stewart Center on the northeast side of the Roosevelt Bridge. And thanks so much for everybody who helped with the service. Judy suddenly found out she was helping when she got here this morning, so thank you, Judy Bajoris. And thanks, Karina, in our office back there, and Tech Wizard Chris McGann, and Joanne's here to do the food afterwards, crackers and coffee, especially coffee. Bob is in the pulpit today. So I guess it's time to light the chalice? Okay. This is On the Brink of a New Year by Lois Van Leer. We light this chalice on the brink of a new year, letting go of what has been, open and hopeful for what may come, renewed, restored, ready to live life fully anew. May we move forward with intention. The opening words are from a book called Earth Prayers, written by the UN Environmental Sabbath Program. We join with the earth and with each other to bring new life to the land, to restore the waters, to refresh the air. We join with the earth and with each other to renew the forest, to care for the plants, to protect the creatures. We join with the earth and with each other to celebrate the seas, to rejoice in the sunlight, to sing the song of the stars. We join with the earth and with each other to recreate the human community, to promote justice and peace, to remember our children. We join with the earth and with each other. We join together as many and diverse expressions of one loving mystery for the healing of the earth and the renewal of all life. Now, our first hymn is number 38, Morning Has Broken. That we'll do 3 verses. Stand if you are able. Like the first morning, blackbird has spoken, like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing, fresh from the word. Sweet the rains do fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day. Let us recite our affirmation, speaking the first verse and singing the second. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. All that dwell below the skies, let faith and hope and love arise. Let beauty, truth, and good be sung from every land and every tongue.
Now is our time of sharing matters of joy, sorrow, concern, in the hope that as you share yours, you will know that you are being heard and supported. A little difference about it today will be when we are finished sharing our joys and sorrows, I'll ask you to turn to 544 in the back of the hymnal, which we'll read responsively in lieu of the meditation. Now, you remember responsive readings in church. I do the first part, you do the italics. It's been a while. I might get mixed up too. Now, who has something? I'll just start off by saying those of us who were there were touched by the remembering of Nancy Head's life on Tuesday at their clubhouse. Roger, we certainly want to embrace you, and you know you're supported here. Anyone else with a matter of joy or sorrow to share? We invite you to come to the mic, tell us who you are, and no, she's not going to play.
I have faith that Jackie is going to be here at 11 o'clock. I brought this violin that my grandfather made, and he made a lot of furniture just for the family and never wanted to sell anything. I have no idea why he made a violin for the very unmusical side of my family, including me. But I'm going to give this to Jackie to find a home for it, that hopefully it will play for one of the students in her realm. Papa was a East LA junior high school teacher, and I know he would just love if it could go to someone that would value it. And I hope it plays okay.
Is there anyone else?
I'm Ann Ozawa. It's with great regret that I recall I was unable to get to the service for Nancy Head. And today I would like to tell you one of my great memories for her. We had wonderful memories over the years, including her teaching me quilling. And anybody can talk about it with me if not. But the other memory that I particularly liked was the day when she and I walked in dressed in the same dress. And Nancy, you're wonderful.
We got it. We've got the stone covered. Anyone else? If not, we move a stone for those we haven't said out loud, because we know that people always carry people in their minds and hearts and concerns. And now we'll read responsively this 544 New Year's Day reading by Kathleen McTigg. The 1st of January is another day dawning, the sun rising as the sun always rises, the earth moving in its rhythms. So it is. Everything is the same, bound into its history as we ourselves are bound. What shall we do with this great gift of time this year? We are the hearts and minds, the hands and feet, the embodiment of all the best visions of our people. Let us take the step forward together onto new ground. Okay. We're about to have moments of silence, Jackie, so could you assume the position and be quiet? Good morning. Yeah, let's have about a minute of quiet time. And now it's like our theme song, Spirit of Life. We hum a verse, we sing a verse.
Who's doing it?
Who will do
You're
this?
both doing it. Yeah, I'll just back. Excellent.
Thank Now is the time of our morning offering. As I say over and over again, we hope that people experience generosity and joy here, and we certainly need your generosity back. And now I need a couple of volunteers. Jerry, you look like you're willing and able. And Bill, good.
Thank you.
And now I found this choral video that I thought was good for all seasons. guess their congregation erupted after that. I want to mention a few things kind of before the sermon. Ronnie mentioned to me that we need some volunteers to take apart the tree and for you to take your plants back. And she told me who's not going to be doing it. So anyway, if you have time afterwards, please pitch into that effort. Also, I've mentioned a while ago that I'm inviting questions for me for sermon ideas. So this Q means questions. I'm going to be leaving it out starting next week. So do some homework, put some notes in here for me to work on. Along the same line, we're trying to put together a science forum on the 22nd. We've got somebody who's willing to lead it, and we're looking for, he was suggesting we ask people for what issues of science would be of interest to you. So if you have something you'd like him to work on in that session or a future one, you could put that in here also. I'll know your science question is not for my sermon. Also, I want to invite you to go with me back to college. And by that I mean the play Waiting for Godot on February 12th at the ACT Studio. February 12th. Now, everybody I've mentioned Waiting for Godot to, and I bring it up a lot, just ask my wife, they tell me, oh, they saw it in college, as did I. It was written in '53. I saw it about a dozen years later. The other thing they say is, once was enough. But I don't think so, not if you're looking for the meaning of life. I don't find it to be enough anyway. So if you're interested, you go on actstudiotheater.com and scroll down to February 12th, 3 o'clock. There were about 20 seats left when I looked a day or two ago. And if you're interested, we would go for Fiorentino's inexpensive Italian dinner after, and we would just simply debate the meaning of life. Like those two on the corner. For me, it's kind of like going back to college. February 12th, 3 p.m. Also, if you have been with me through my first tour here, you know that periodically I had to read Bertrand Russell's preface to his autobiography. And I haven't done it for some time, so I have to read it again. This is, to me, the highest expression I know of what it means to be human. It is a bit chauvinistic. A British Lord, Earl, philosopher, mathematician, pacifist, agnostic. So way pre-woke and still way, way brilliant. What I Have Lived For by Bertrand Russell, the preface to his autobiography. 3 passions, simple but overwhelmingly strong, have governed my life: the longing for love, the search for knowledge, and the unbearable pity for the suffering of mankind. These passions, like great winds, have blown me hither and thither in a wayward course over a deep ocean of anguish, reaching to the very verge of despair. I have sought love, first because it brings ecstasy so great that I would have often sacrificed all the rest of life for a few hours of this joy. I have sought it next because it relieves loneliness, that terrible loneliness in which one shivering consciousness looks over the rim of the world into the cold, unfathomable, lifeless abyss. I have sought it finally because in the union of love, I have seen in a mystic miniature the prefiguring vision of the heaven that saints and poets have imagined. This is what I sought, and though it might seem too good for human life, this is what at last I have found. With equal passion, I have sought knowledge. I have wished to understand the hearts of men. I have wished to know why the stars shine, and I have tried to apprehend the Pythagorean power by which number holds sway above the flux. A little of this, but not much, I have achieved. Love and knowledge, so far as they were possible, led upward toward the heavens, but always pity brought me back to earth. Echoes of cries of pain reverberate in my heart. Children in famine, victims tortured by oppressors, helpless old people, a hated burden to their sons, and the whole world of loneliness, poverty, and pain make a mockery of what human life should be. I long to alleviate the evil, but I cannot, and I too suffer. This has been my life. I have found it worth living, and gladly would live it again if the chance were offered me. Bertrand Russell. Let's just live our lives. Isn't that enough? I don't want to hear the big events of 2022. We know we dodged more than one bullet. And I don't want to hear the predictions of 2023. But we know we live in between memory and hope, roots and wings, the past and the future. So we live at least in two directions, looking back and looking ahead. I have an idea of the strength of our pasts, and that's who we are. I enjoyed Hugh Misseldine's Your Inner Child of the Past, but it wasn't exactly news. I've been told you're just like your mother. It wasn't meant as a compliment. I also used to hear you're the spitting image of your father. Now that wasn't flung with mean intent. It was only an observation of surface similarity. He was gone when I was 1, but since I knew he was associated, too intimately acquainted with alcohol and jail, I didn't hear it as an observation of surface similarity. My brain is like a Rolodex of quotes for all seasons. I can't remember the author, but I found it in Barnes & Noble self-help aisles shelves. In maturity, you're going to know you're a lot more like the parent you didn't want to be like. You swore you'd never be like, but you are. And that's really a good thing. But when I am offered the 10 best stories about 2022, or what not to forget about the passing year, I want to shout, please don't make me relive it. I won't forget it, even if I want to forget it. It was painful enough the first time, just living through it. Between the pandemic and the politics, we did well to escape with our battered wits and our battered country's battered democratic traditions. So keep the takeaways from 22 and the predictions for 23. Let's just live our lives. We survived. So now let's just go on living. But is that enough? January 1 invites New Year's resolutions. I made no resolutions. Like my trying to play golf, resolutions are one more thing I'm not good at. One of my doctors must have got tired of hearing my resolves about weight control. So he told me, just accept your weight is you. Note to self, don't bring that up again. Do resolutions happen by the calendar? Not for me. So when I read this in the Friday New York Times electronic edition, I felt it was written just for me, and of course for you. One resolution you might keep. One resolution you might keep, by Garrett Kaiser. Mr. Kaiser is an author and a contributing editor of Harper's Magazine and Virginia Quarterly Review. If resolution makers wanted a patron saint, they could do worse than Samuel Johnson, 1709 to 1784, a lifelong resolver, and by his own admission, a lifelong failure at keeping his resolutions. Reading his diaries, we may sigh in recognition as time after time, at the New Year, at Easter, and on his birthday, Johnson renews his intentions to rise early, to be more studious, to be more moderate in his intake of food and drink, and laments his neglect of those same intentions in the past year. Now, this is Johnson. I have now spent 55 years in resolving, he wrote on his birthday in 1764. Having from the earliest time, almost that I can remember, been forming schemes of a better life, I have done nothing. The need of doing, therefore, is pressing, since the time of doing is short. I have these words in mind. Now, this is Kaiser, as I greet a new year that will mark my 70th birthday by yet again resolving, as Johnson did, to rise earlier, resist hurtful thoughts, and keep a journal. I'll also resolve to check my email less compulsively and my blood pressure more often, to reduce the amount of sodium in my diet, to be a more faithful friend and a more attentive parent and spouse, to listen more than I talk. That really smarts. Over the years, Johnson made readjustments to his program, especially to his rising time, a perennial challenge to someone prone to indolence, chronic depression, and late hours. I have all my life long been lying till noon, he promised, he remarked to a dinner host. Yet I tell all young men, and tell them with great sincerity, that nobody who does not rise early will ever do any good. Those young men, and women too, several of whom he helped toward publication, must have laughed among themselves at all that their habitually late-sleeping mentor had managed to accomplish in spite of his own advice. They would have cited his elegant Rambler essays, his groundbreaking edition of Shakespeare's plays, and his monumental A Dictionary of the English Language, remnants of which survive in any dictionary you're likely to pick up today. It's now commonplace in English literature courses to speak of the mid to late 18th century as the age of Johnson. His contemporaries would not have been surprised. For Johnson, however, the critical question was not whether he'd accomplished great things, whether he had accomplished great things, but whether he'd accomplished them in proportion to his talents and his limited time. He was hyper-conscious of mortality. On his watch was engraved, "The night cometh when no man can work," and painfully frustrated by his seeming inability to keep the simplest promise to himself. Like almost everyone I know, he felt he should be accomplishing much more than he did. After so many failed attempts, why even bother? Is there a person who hasn't faced another year, another birthday, by asking the same thing? Johnson put the question to himself in 1775 when he was 65 years old. And this is Johnson. When I look back upon resolutions of improvement and amendments, which have year after year been made and broken, either by negligence, forgetfulness, vicious idleness, casual interruption, or morbid infirmity, when I find that so much of my life has stolen unprofitably away, and that I can describe by retrospection scarcely a few single days properly and vigorously employed, why do I yet try to resolve again? I try because reformation is necessary and despair is criminal. I try in humble hope of the help of God. Now, this is Kaiser's conclusion about all that. Johnson's personal struggle is worth remembering, not only as we form private resolutions to be better people, but also as we ponder those collective resolutions repeatedly broken, and in some cases yet to be made, to confront such evils as environmental destruction and systemic racism. Johnson himself called us out on the latter when he notoriously responded to the nascent American Revolution by asking, "How is it that we hear the loudest yelps for liberty among the drivers of Negroes?" Wow. Samuel Johnson and Garrett Kaiser. So I resolved to read Boswell's Life of Johnson as soon as I can get to it. After that treasure I shared, I can't resist this aside. Why is it negatives we've heard or read have a longer shelf life in our cerebral stacks than praise and encouragement along our journeys? Boswell had the ogre and or blessing of the Protestant work ethic. Work for the night is coming, etched on his watch, reminding him he hadn't done enough. Now, a number of you, like me, did time and training in Christian and Jewish scripture. Is there a line you'd like to shake? As a teen, I committed a lot of Paul's writings to memory. One that I'd like to uncommit. By now, you should be a teacher. I guess I am, but that's not how I have heard it. It must be human insecurity, certainly not human sinfulness, that gives negatives their undeserved lifespan. Do we need to resolve more than keep going, keep on? Yes and no. Lives like Russell and Johnson haunt us with keep going, keep doing what you feel called and able to do. Sometimes that's just encourage others to see the good in themselves and not dwell on the lacking. We can all name the things we can't do. Now, I live on a golf fairway to remind me every day. And this house I picked. One of the blessings of our beloved community we are becoming is the group thinking, not to be confused with group think equals echo chamber. No, not that. Group thinking and group teaching we sign on to here. Of course, we have different takes on what is needed and what we can do. One reason we have congregational meetings, which will be 2 weeks from today, not today. One reason we have them is so everyone has the opportunity to say what more we can do and to do something about it. I suspect the issue is not so much what new thing can we resolve to do or to be. We could start by remembering when we have been most on fire, impassioned by ideals. Of course, we had more energy, but as long as we are breathing, we have energy. The fire and the ideals beget conversation, and that can still lead to doing. Where to begin? Where to end? We have these principles on the back of the bulletin now. I don't have to tell you how to page ahead to them. We have these principles. And one reason I like being here, TCUUC, is that if I get stuck on how to apply them, or all of a sudden get at a loss for words, you might want that to happen. If that happens, I can count on you. I know I can count on you. Our closing hymn is This Little Light of Mine, 118. Judy, you can say no. You can say yes.
Sentence if we're gonna, you can play along if you like, it's already on.
Did I ever mention we're a work in progress?
I send them in now, so I don't have to use the thing. I just have to wait for it to turn on.
Let's all stand and sing if we're able and willing.
Excellent. Let's hit the last one on the pile.
Jackie, how was your night last night? All right, get us started, Judy.
Let's start at the top. Is that all right?
We're just going to go right into it.
No, let's do a little intro. Let's do the last, let it shine, which is the 118 and,
Let it shine. Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Two,
Wow. My and our deepest thanks to Jackie and to Judy for the music of the morning. My closing, as this Judy extinguishes will be the words of T.S. Eliot. What we call a beginning is often the end, and to make an end is to make a beginning. The end is where we start from. We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and to know the place for the first time. T.S. Eliot.
My postlude is for all the souls lost last year. I lost somebody this week. And this is the prelude to the second suite by Johann Sebastian Bach for solo cello.